Your mother lied to you. Your teachers deceived you. Every motivational speaker who told you to follow your passion sold you a beautiful lie. They said if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But look around this room. How many passionate people do you see stuck in mediocrity? How many talented individuals are waiting tables while pursuing their dreams? How many gifted souls are living in their parents' basement still finding themselves? What he wants to tell you is this: passion without action is just a fantasy. Purpose without execution is just a daydream. The world doesn't reward your potential. The marketplace doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about your delivery. And while you've been waiting for passion to magically transform your life, others have been taking action, building empires on the foundation of simple, consistent execution. The phone rings, your hand hovers over it, trembling. You know exactly who it is, that opportunity you've been waiting for. The one you've prayed about, dreamed about, talked about. But in this moment, fear grips your heart like a vice. Your mouth goes dry. Your palm sweats. And you let it ring. That single moment of hesitation just changed the entire trajectory of your life. That single moment of giving in to fear just robbed you of your destiny. How many such moments have slipped through your fingers? How many times have you allowed that small voice of doubt to drown out the roar of greatness within you? You see, we're gathered here today not to discuss theory or philosophy. We're here to confront the brutal reality that has held too many of us captive: the paralysis of inaction. The cancer of complacency that has metastasized through our lives, killing our dreams one procrastination at a time. Look at your hands right now. Go ahead, look at them. These hands were given to you by the Creator, not to scroll mindlessly through social media, not to point fingers at others, not to wave in surrender to mediocrity. These hands were given to you to build, to create, to lift. What's the truth that nobody wants to hear? Motivation is a lie. Inspiration is a scam. That feeling you're waiting for, it's not coming. That perfect moment you're hoping will arrive. But the only thing that's real is this moment, right now, and what you choose to do with it. Every morning, millions wake up waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel certain. And every evening they go to bed disappointed, having waited their life away. Purpose doesn't wait. Destiny doesn't send you a comfortable invitation with an SSB card. Doing something that might shock you. Your feelings are irrelevant to your purpose. Read that again. Your feelings, your fear, your doubt, your uncertainty, they're irrelevant to what you were put on this earth to do. Honestly, the eagle doesn't wake up feeling like flying. It flies because that's what it was created to do. The sun doesn't rise feeling bright. It shines because that's its purpose. You want to know the secret that successful people know? They've learned to divorce their actions from their emotions. They've mastered the art of taking action, not because they feel like it, but because they understand that action is the antidote to anxiety. Action is the cure for fear. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But some of you are sitting there thinking, you don't understand my situation. You don't know my circumstances. You're right. I don't. But I know this. Circumstances don't define destiny. Every obstacle in your path is not a stop sign. It's a challenge asking, how badly do you want it? The story of a young man who wanted to learn martial arts. He went to a master and asked to be taught. The master took him to a pool and suddenly pushed him underwater. The student struggled, fought. Just when he thought his lungs would burst, the master pulled him up. When you want success as badly as you wanted that breath of air, come back to me. That's the level of desperation we need to cultivate. That's the intensity of desire that needs to fuel our actions. Because in this life, you don't get what you want. You get what you fight for. You get what you take action towards. Look around you. Everything you see. Every building invention, every business started as someone's thought. But it didn't stay a thought. Someone forced themselves to take action. Someone pushed through their fear. Someone decided that their dream was more important than their comfort. But here's where it gets interesting. Taking action isn't just about the big moves. It's not always about quitting your job or starting a business or moving to a new country. Sometimes the most powerful action is the smallest step in the right direction. Sometimes it's just picking up the phone when it rings. Sometimes it's just saying yes when everything inside you is screaming no. The problem is, we've been conditioned to believe that we need to feel ready before we act. We've bought into the lie that confidence comes before competence. But that's backward thinking. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It's a result of action. You don't become confident and then take action. You take action and then become. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of theory, no amount of watching others, no amount of motivation could give you the confidence to ride. You had to get on the bike. You had to fall. You had to take action. And through that action, through that process of doing despite your fear, you develop confidence. The same principle applies to every area of your life. Want to start a business? Stop reading business books and start serving one customer. Want to get in shape? Stop researching workout plans and do one push-up. Want to write a book? Stop talking about writing and write one sentence. You see, the universe has a peculiar way of responding to action. When you take that first step, even if it's imperfect, even if you're scared, even if you don't feel ready, the universe conspires to help you. The doors begin to open. Resources appear. Help arrives. But let me address something that's probably going through some of your minds right now. You're thinking about all the times you did take action and things didn't work out. All the times you tried and failed. All the times you stepped out in faith and got knocked down. Good, let's talk about that. Failure isn't your enemy. It's your educator. Every failure is simply feedback. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. But here's what most people do wrong. They fail once and internalize it. They try something once and when it doesn't work, they make it mean something about themselves. They take one unsuccessful attempt and turn it into a life sentence. You haven't failed. You found a way that doesn't work. That's all. Think about a baby learning to walk. When a baby falls, do we say, well, I guess walking isn't for you? Do we tell them maybe you should just crawl for the rest of your life? No. We encourage them to get back up. We celebrate their attempts. We understand that falling is part of learning to walk. So somewhere along the way, we lost that understanding for ourselves. We became so afraid of looking foolish, so terrified of judgment, so paralyzed by the possibility of failure that we stopped trying. We stopped taking action. We settled for crawling through life when we were meant to run. The greatest tragedy in life is not failure. It's succeeding at things that don't matter. It's becoming really good at playing it safe. It's mastering the art of avoiding risk. It's perfecting the technique of making excuses. You know what an excuse is? It's a well-planned lie we tell ourselves to avoid taking responsibility for our lives. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough money. The timing isn't right. These aren't reasons. They're excuses. And every excuse you make is a brick in the wall between you and your destiny. The truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will never be perfect circumstances. There will never be a moment when all the stars align and the heavens open up and a voice booms down saying, now is the time. Life doesn't work that way. Life rewards action, not intention. Think about water for a moment. When water sits stagnant, it becomes toxic. It breeds bacteria. It starts to smell. But when water flows, when it moves, when it takes action, it stays fresh, it stays clean. The same is true for life. When you stay stagnant, when you refuse to take action, your dreams become toxic. Your potential starts to rot. Your purpose begins to smell. But when you move, when you take action, when you force yourself to step out despite your fear, that's when life starts to flow. That's when opportunities start to appear. That's when coincidences start to happen. That's when doors start to open. You see, the universe doesn't respond to your needs. It responds to your actions. It doesn't reward your potential. It rewards your performance. It doesn't bless your dreams, it dresses your decisions. Let me break this down even further. Every day you make thousands of small decisions. Every one of these decisions is either moving you toward your destiny or away from it. Every choice is either an investment in your future or a withdrawal from it. There's no neutral ground. There's no standing still. You're either growing or dying, advancing or retreating, taking action or making excuses. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're choosing mediocrity over excellence. Every time you choose what's easy over what's right, you're choosing small over great. Every time you choose to stay silent when you should speak up, to sit still when you should move, to wait when you should act, you're choosing to betray your purpose. Some of you need to hear this. Your comfort zone is not a place to live. It's a place to visit occasionally. It's a place to rest, not a place to nest. Your comfort zone is like a beautiful harbor. Harbors are good places for ships to rest, to refuel, to repair. But if a ship stays in the harbor too long, it starts to rust. It starts to decay. It fails to fulfill its purpose. You were not created to stay in the harbor of comfort. You were created to sail the seas of possibility. You were designed to navigate the waters of opportunity. You were built to weather the storms of challenge. We let our past experiences dictate our future actions. We let our previous failures determine our future attempts. We let our old fears control our new opportunities. And in doing so, we become prisoners of our own making. Do you know what the difference is between a prisoner and a captive? A prisoner has been locked up by someone else. A captive has locked themselves up. Many of you are not prisoners of circumstance. You're captives of fear. You're not held back by external forces. You're held back by internal forces. You're not bound by chains of steel. You're bound by chains of doubt, chains of procrastination, chains of self-limiting beliefs. The key to breaking these chains? Action. Deliberate, intentional, purposeful action. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when conditions are perfect. Here's the truth about action. It's not just at doing something. It's about becoming someone. Every action you take is not just moving you toward your goals. It's shaping your character. It's not just changing your circumstances. Let me tell you about something that happens in nature that perfectly illustrates what we're talking about. When an eagle builds its nest high up in the mountains, it makes it comfortable. It lines it with feathers and soft grass. But it makes it a safe place for its babies. But when it's time for the baby eagles to learn to fly, the mother eagle does something that seems cruel. She begins to make the nest uncomfortable. She removes the soft lining. She exposes the sharp twigs and branches. She does this because she understands the fundamental truths. Comfort is the enemy of growth. As long as those baby eagles are comfortable, they never leave the nest. As long as they're satisfied with where they are, they never discover what they could be. Some of you are sitting in nests of comfort right now. You've lined your life with the soft feathers of excuses. You've padded your existence with the grass of Sunday. And you're wondering why you feel stuck, why you feel unfulfilled, why you feel like there must be more to life than this. Well, I'm here to be your mother eagle. I'm here to make your nest uncomfortable. I'm here to expose those sharp twigs of truth that you've been trying to cover up. Because until you become uncomfortable where you are, you'll never have the courage to go where you're meant to be. You see, every great achievement in human history began with someone becoming uncomfortable with the status quo. Every invention, every discovery, every breakthrough started because someone refused to accept good enough. They forced themselves to take action despite the discomfort, despite the uncertainty. That's what's fascinating about action. It has a compound effect. Just like money in a bank account earning interest, every action you take creates momentum. Every step forward, no matter how small, builds energy for the next step. Every victory, no matter how tiny, creates confidence for the next challenge. Think about a rocket launching into space. Do you know when it uses the most fuel? In the first few minutes of takeoff. It requires enormous energy to break free from the Earth's gravitational pull. But once it breaks through the atmosphere, it requires much less energy to keep going. The same is true in your life. The hardest part is always the start. The hardest part is breaking free from the gravitational pull of procrastination, of doubt, of fear. But once you build momentum, once you create that initial thrust through consistent action, it becomes easier to keep going. This is why waiting for motivation is a fool's game. Motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. When you force yourself to take that first step, when you push yourself to make that first move, you create and you generate momentum. You build what I call action momentum. Action momentum is like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small and requires effort to keep it moving. But as it rolls, it picks up speed. As it moves, it gets bigger. As it continues, it becomes unstoppable. That's what happens when you force yourself to take consistent action. You become unstoppable. But here's the key words. You must force yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. No one can want it for you more than you want it for yourself. No one can push you harder than you're willing to push yourself. The force must come from within. Some of you are waiting for something external to force you into action. You're waiting for a crisis. You're waiting for a deadline. You're waiting for someone to push you. But external force creates temporary change. Internal force, the force you apply to yourself, creates permanent transformation. What would you look like if you forced yourself to take action on every inspired thought you've had? What would be different if you had acted on every good idea, every noble intention, every powerful prompting? How different would your reality be? If you had forced yourself to follow through on every commitment you've made to yourself. The gap between where you are and where you could be is filled with actions you haven't forced yourself to take. The distance between your current reality and your potential is measured in steps you haven't forced yourself to make. The difference between who you are and who you could become is determined by the actions you haven't forced yourself to take. But here's the beautiful thing about this. It builds strength. Every time you force yourself to take action, you build your action muscle. Every time you push through resistance, you increase your capacity for future action. Every time you choose to do what's difficult, instead of what's easy, you expand your ability to handle greater challenges. Think about it like working out. The first time you try to do push-ups, it's hard. It's uncomfortable. It requires force. But the more you do it, the stronger you get. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Not because the push-ups get easier, but because you get stronger. The same principle applies to taking action in your life. The first time you force yourself to make that uncomfortable phone call, it's hard. The first time you force yourself to have that difficult conversation, it's uncomfortable. This time you force yourself to step out of your comfort zone, it requires tremendous effort. But each time you do it, you get stronger. Each time you force yourself to take action, you build your capacity for future action. This is why successful people make success look easy. It's not that they don't face the same fears, doubts, and insecurities that you do. It's that they've built their action muscle to the point where forcing themselves to take action has become their default response. They've trained themselves to act despite fear, to move despite uncertainty, to push forward despite doubt. But let's talk about something that nobody wants to discuss: the price of inaction. Because while we're often afraid of the price of taking action, we rarely consider the cost of doing nothing. We rarely calculate the compound interest of procrastination. We rarely measure the accumulated debt of delay. Every time you choose inaction, you're not just standing still, you're moving backwards. Every time you choose to wait, you're not just delaying progress, you're actively choosing regression. Every time you choose to stay comfortable, you're not just avoiding growth, you're choosing decay. Think about a garden for a moment. When you plant a seed, you have two choices. You can water it or you can leave it alone. There is no middle ground. There is no "I'll water it tomorrow." Either you take action and water it today. Your inaction is not neutral. It's negative. Your lack of positive action is itself a negative action. The same principle applies to your dreams, your goals, your purpose. Every day you don't take action toward them is a day you take action against them. Every moment you don't move forward is a moment you move backward. Every opportunity you don't seize is an opportunity you lose forever. Some of you are living with the pain of regret right now. You're carrying the weight of what if on your shoulders. You're burdened by the ghosts of if only. But here's what you need to understand. The pain of regret is far worse than the pain of disappointment. The agony of what if is far more devastating than the discomfort of taking action. Let me be very clear. The pain of forcing yourself to take action is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. The discomfort of growth lasts for a moment. The discomfort of staying the same lasts a life. You see, there's a voice inside each of us. A voice that speaks to us in quiet moments. A voice that reminds us of who we could be, what we could do, what we could become. Some call it conscience. Some call it the voice of destiny. But whatever you call it, this voice is constantly urging us to take action. And every time we ignore this voice, every time we choose comfort over growth, every time we choose inaction over action, we damage our relationship with ourselves. We break trust with our own spirit. We create a gap between who we are and who we know we could be. This gap becomes a breeding ground for self-doubt. It becomes fertile soil for insecurity. It becomes the foundation for a life of quiet desperation. Because deep down, you know when you're settling for less than you're capable of. You know when you're choosing comfort over purpose. That's as inaction compounds. Negatively, action compounds positively. Just as each act of procrastination makes you weaker, each act of courage makes you stronger. Just as each moment of delay diminishes your spirit, each moment of decisive action enlarges your soul. When you force yourself to take action, you're not just changing your circumstances. You're changing your character. You're not just altering your situation. You're altering your identity. You're not just transforming your reality. This is why taking action is not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming someone new. It's about growing into the person who is capable of achieving those goals. It's about developing into the individual who deserves those achievements. Every time you force yourself to take action, despite fear, you become more courageous. Every time you push yourself to move forward despite uncertainty, you become more confident. Every time you choose to do what's difficult instead of what's easy, you become more disciplined. Your actions are not just creating your future, they're creating you. Your decisions are not just determining your destiny, they're determining who you become along the way. Your choices are not just shaping your circumstances. This is why the question isn't what do you want to achieve. The real question is, who do you need to become to achieve it? Because success is not about having what you want. It's about becoming who you need to be to create what you want. Who you need to be is someone who forces themselves to take action. Someone who pushes past fear. Someone who moves forward despite uncertainty. Someone who chooses growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, destiny over convenience. But here's the catch. This person you need to become, they only exist on the other side of action. You can't think your way into becoming them. You can't plan your way into becoming them. You have to act your way into becoming them. This is why forcing yourself to take action is so crucial. Because every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. Every step forward is a brick in the foundation of your new identity. Every decisive move is a thread in the fabric of your future self. And this brings us to the most important truth of all. The time is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect. Because life is not waiting for you to feel ready. Opportunity is not waiting for you to feel confident. Purpose is not waiting for you to feel certain. The world is not waiting for you to feel comfortable. Right now, someone needs what you have. Right now, someone is waiting for your gift. Right now, someone is praying for the solution that only you can provide. And every moment you wait, every day you delay, every time you choose inaction over action, you're failing them. You see, your purpose is not just about you. Your dreams are not just about your fulfillment. Your goals are not just about your success. They're about the lives you're meant to touch, the people you're meant to serve, the difference you're meant to make. When you choose inaction, when you give in to fear, when you let procrastination win, you're not just robbing yourself. You're robbing the world of your gift. You're depriving humanity of your contribution. You're withholding from others what was given to you to share. Think about the great achievements throughout history. The inventions that changed the world. The businesses that transformed industries. The ideas that revolutionized societies. None of them came from people who waited until they felt ready. None of them came from individuals who waited for perfect conditions. They came from people who forced themselves to take action. The light bulb wasn't invented by someone who waited for inspiration. The telephone wasn't created by someone who waited for certainty. The computer wasn't developed by someone who waited for confidence. These world-changing innovations came from people who forced themselves to take action. Day after day, failure after failure, setback after setback. Here's what's truly extraordinary. Every one of these people faced the same fears you face. Every one of them dealt with the same doubts you deal with. Every one of them encountered the same resistance you encounter. The only difference, they forced themselves to take action anyway. Just fundamental truths. Fear never goes away. Doubt never disappears. Uncertainty never vanishes. The successful aren't successful because they don't feel fear. They're not successful because they don't have doubts. They're successful because they move forward despite their doubts. And right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can continue to wait for the feeling of readiness that will never come. You can continue to wait for the perfect conditions that will never exist. You can continue to wait for the confidence that only comes after action. Or you can force yourself to take action. You can push yourself to make a move. You can compel yourself to take that first step. Not because you feel like it. Not because it's easy. But because that's what growth requires. That's what success demands. Every great journey began with a single step. Every major achievement started with one action. Every significant accomplishment commenced with one decision to move forward. Your journey to greatness doesn't begin when you feel ready. It begins when you force yourself to start despite not feeling ready. Your path to success doesn't start when you have it all figured out. It starts when you take action despite not having it all figured out. Your road to fulfillment doesn't commence when fear disappears. It commences when you move forward despite your fear. The time for waiting is over. The season of preparation has passed. The era of someday has ended. This is your moment. This is your call to action. Don't let this be another moment when you heard the truth, but fail to act on it. Don't let this be another instance when you felt inspired, but remained unchanged. Don't let this be another occasion when you recognized what needed to be done, but chose comfort over growth. Force yourself to take action. Force yourself to make a move. Force yourself to begin. Because in the end, it's not what you know that determines your destiny. It's what you do. It's not what you're capable of that defines your life. It's not your potential that creates your future. It's your actions. The phone is ringing again. That opportunity is calling once more. That dream is knocking again. This time, force yourself to answer. This time, compel yourself to respond. Because your destiny is not in the harbor of comfort. It's in the ocean of action. Your future is not in the valley of preparation. It's on the mountain of execution. Your purpose is not in the land of someday. It's in the territory of right now. People stand up, step up, speak up, show up. The world is waiting. Your destiny is calling. Your purpose is beckoning. And this time, you must force yourself to answer. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now, today, this moment, force yourself to take action. Your life and the lives of countless others depends on it. The time is now. The person is you. The action is yours to take. Take it.